Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Wa usalli wa usallimu ala sayyidil anbiya'i wal mursaleen. Nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri. Wahlul uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Rabbi zidna ilma, Rabbi zidna ilma, Rabbi zidna ilman nafi'a. Ameen. Alhamdulillah, we have reached the last ayah of the last part of Āyah al-Kursī. And we are trying to understand the tafsir of this beautiful ayah from tafsir of Imam al-Tabari, rahimahullah. Imam al-Tabari, rahimahullah, says, Al-qawlu fi ta'wili qawlihi jalla thana'uh. The interpretation of the words of Allah, may His praise be exalted. We have said ta'wil and tafsir are synonyms. Tafsir and ta'wil, they mean interpretation, explanation of the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَا يَؤُودُهُ حِفْظُهُمَا. And preservation of the heavens and the earth does not tire Allah, does not burden Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَهُوَ الْعَلِيُّ الْعَظِيمُ. And He is the most high and the greatest. We have talked about these two attributes when we connected the beginning and end of Āyah al-Kursī. We said the beginning and the end of Āyah al-Kursī, they are the gateways to understanding the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have talked about that in details. وَلَا يَؤُودُهُ. And يَؤُودُهُ, يَؤُودُ means tiring, burden, heaviness. Hifz, ha, fa, and dha. Hifz means protecting, protection, safeguarding, sustaining, all these meanings. Huma. Huma is the dual pronoun. In English, we have singular and plural. But in Arabic, we have singular, dual, and plural. We have a separate type for two things, both in nouns and verbs. So, huma points to the heavens and the earth. Preserving and protecting the heavens and the earth does not overburden Allah, does not tire Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah is so great that preservation of the heavens and the earth from its creation till eternity, sustaining it, safeguarding it, providing for it, does not overburden Allah. And if you remember, when we talked about the attributes of Allah, we said the concept of wahdaniyah, oneness, which is the foundation of our Deen. God is one. It applies on the that of Allah, the being of Allah, the attributes of Allah, and the af'al, the actions of Allah. God is one in attributes means Allah, whatever He does, or the manifestation of an attribute, is the work of that one attribute. He does not need different attributes to do the same thing. Like we human beings. In Qudrah, capability, we need different capabilities or different types of potentials to do different things. And to lift a pen, we need less energy. We use less energy than to lift a rock, for example. But this does not apply to Allah. So our Qudrah is not wahida, one. We have different capabilities for different things. And some things are out of our capability. We cannot lift a mountain. We cannot lift a very heavy thing. Right? This does not apply to Allah. Whatever He does with the same capability. Qudra is wahida. So, by the same qudra, He has created dharra and majarra, as they say in Arabic. He has created the atom and the great galaxies by the same qudra. And this is the meaning of oneness in attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We talked about that, if you remember, in detail. Now let's go to the tafsir. Wahuwa, huwa is again pronoun. It goes back to Allah. Waw is harfu atf. It connects the two sentences. Wahuwa al-Ali. Allah is the most high. And al-Azim. Allah is the greatest. Al-Ali comes from ulu, highness. We have talked about the meanings of these attributes and names with details. يعني تعالى ذكره بقوله. By this قول ولا يؤوده, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, may His mention be exalted, He means ولا يشق عليه ولا يثقله. Protecting the heavens and the earth does not overburden Allah, or is not difficult for Allah. So it is not difficult, it does not burden Allah, it does not tire Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. يقال منه قد آدني هذا الأمر. In Arabic, now he resorts to understanding the word يؤود, its meaning in Arabic. How do Arabs use this word? The Arabs, they say قد آدني هذا الأمر. This matter has weakened me. This matter has overburdened me. Or this matter has taken the best out of me. So it is, I'm engaged in a particular matter, a problem, a difficulty, that it has become a headache for me. It has weakened me. فَهُوَ يَؤُودُنِي أَوْدًا وَإِيَادًا. Yani he mentions the past tense, ada, and ya'udu, the present future tense. So in Arabic, we have the same verb for both present and future. In English, we have past, present, and future. But in Arabic, we have past tense verb and present future. We use the same verb. We can show the intensity in future, the meaning. We can show with different huruf, like we use sawfa. Sawfa yu'tika rabbuka fatarda. Allah will give you in far future. And seen, if we use seen, it shows near future. So we can, to show the intensity of meaning in far or near future, we can use different huruf. But there is only one sigha, one verb for both present and future in Arabic language. Okay. Ada is past, ya'udu is present and future. Awdan wa iyadan is the masdar, jirand. Masdar shows the meaning. It does not show the time in which that action was done. ويقال ما آدك فهو لي آئد. يعني بذلك ما أثقلك فهو لي مثقل. Arabs, they say ما آدك فهو لي آئد. What has overburdened you has also overburdened me. What has been difficult for you has been difficult for me. And in Arabic, they say ما آدك فهو لي آئد. It means the difficulty which you are facing, I'm facing the same thing. يعني ما أثقلك, what has been heavy on you, فهو لي مثقل. It has also been heavy on me also. So the point is, Arabs use this word to show heaviness, difficulty, something which tires a person, which burdens a person. That's why he said, وَلَا يَشُقُّ. Shaqqa means to be difficult. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in preservation of this universe, the creation, providing for it, sustaining it, does not overburden Allah. It is not difficult for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is the first meaning. And then he gives the narrations to support his interpretation. He says, ذِكْرُ مَنْ قَالَ ذَلِكَ, the mention of those who are of this opinion. حدثني المثنى ابن إبراهيم قال حدثنا عبد الله بن صالح قال حدثني معاوية ابن صالح عن علي بن أبي طلحة عن ابن Abbas. The chain goes directly to Ibn Abbas. May Allah be pleased with them both, because Abbas is the uncle of the Prophet and Abdullah, the son of Abbas, is the cousin of the Prophet. ولا يؤوده حفظهما يقول لا يثقل عليه. Abdullah bin Abbas says لا يثقل عليه. It is not heavy upon him. يؤوده means the protection of the heavens and the earth is not heavy on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. حدثني محمد بن سعد قال حدثني أبي قال حدثني عمي قال حدثني أبي عن أبيه. Subhanallah, different generations from the same family narrating the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Muhammad ibn Sa'd, he says, my father narrated to me. His father narrates from his uncle. His uncle narrates again from his father, and the father of his uncle narrates from his father, until the chain reaches Abdullah ibn Abbas. Yani the knowledge, this legacy was present in the ummah. Now we have lost it. We don't know the language of our deen. Most of us, we don't memorize the Quran. By the way, in the past, memorization of Quran and Sunnah, memorization of Quran and Hadith was not limited to only scholars or those who wanted to enter the field of Islamic sciences. It was a common legacy between Muslims. So Muslims would dedicate at least some of their children to memorization of Quran and Sunnah. They would memorize Quran, they would memorize Arabic poetry, they would memorize Hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, irrespective of the field they would choose in future, irrespective of their work. So it was not limited to only scholars or students of knowledge. Abdullah bin Abbas says, وَلَا يَؤُودُهُ حِفْظُهُمَا means لَا يَثْقُلُ عَلَيْهِ حِفْظُهُمَا. Protecting them, yani heavens and the earth, is not heavy upon Allah. It does not overburden Allah. It does not tire Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. حدثنا بشر بن معاذ قال حدثنا يزيد قال حدثنا سعيد عن قتادة قوله. Now I'm reading these chains in order to make you taste the original scholarship, and also to make us understand that it is not so difficult as it looks to learn Arabic and to connect with the original scholarship. It's not so difficult. Some ulum may be very difficult, which needs time and focus for learning, or maybe some branches of particular ulum may be difficult, but generally speaking, it's not difficult. SubhanAllah, we have read tafsir of Tabari in understanding Āyah al-Kursī, and I have not gone into the detailed explanation. We are taking the translations and annotating here and there. So you can see it's not so difficult. Again, from Qatada, قوله لا يؤوده حفظهما means لا يثقل عليه ولا يجهده حفظهما. He adds another word, يجهده, and he does not push Allah. Allah does not need any push or a special energy or nothing decreases in it and increases in the attributes, in the being of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whatever Allah does, He does it with the same competence, qudrah, which is an attribute of Allah. So nothing has increased in this qudrah, nothing decreases in this qudrah. If I want to lift a pen, I have a particular qudrah. And now if I want to lift this table, I will increase my qudrah and I will use more force. This does not apply to Allah. This is the perfection in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. حدثنا الحسن بن يحيى قال أخبرنا عبد الرزاق قال أخبرنا معمر عن الحسن وقتادة both from Imam Hasan al-Basri rahimahullah and Qatada, fi qawlihi wala ya'uduhu hifdhuhuma qala, they both said, see qala, dual form of the verb. Qala, qala, qalu. Qala, he said, one. Qala, they said, two. Qalu, they all said, and more than two. La yathqulu alayhi shay'un. Nothing is heavy upon Allah. This gives a new shade in the meaning. So it is not only about heavens and the earth. It is about everything. Nothing is heavy upon Allah. This is a very deep and beautiful meaning here. So if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not doing a particular action, in spite of the fact that this action is in his capability, and nothing is a burden or nothing is difficult for Allah, it means there must be some hikmah and wisdom. And sometimes when things are not happening our way, we start feeling that Allah is not capable. And we don't say it by the tongue, we start feeling in the heart. Why isn't Allah doing this? Allah is capable of everything. Allah knows everything. Allah is capable of everything. Nothing is difficult for Allah. If Allah is not doing it, Allah is delaying it, Allah is depriving us from it, it means there must be a plan behind it. There must be hikmah, special wisdom behind it. Because la yathqulu alayhi shay'un. Nothing is difficult on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The nouns are of two types. Common noun and proper noun. Common noun shows umum. It gives the meaning of generality. Unrestricted meaning. And if you see a word in without alif and lam, which shows that it's a common noun, it gives the meaning of umum. So shay'un means everything. So this meaning does not miss anything here. Nothing is difficult for Allah. حدثني محمد بن عبد الله بن بزيع قال حدثنا يوسف بن خالد السمتي قال حدثنا نافع بن مالك عن إكرمة عن ابن عباس في قوله ولا يؤوده حفظهما قال لا يثقل عليه حفظهما. Again, the same meaning. Protecting the heavens and earth is not difficult upon Allah. It is not heavy for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. حدثنا أبو كريب قال حدثنا ابن أبي زائدة وحدثنا يحيى بن أبي طالب قال أخبرنا يزيد قال جميعا. They all said قال جميعا. Both of them said أخبرنا جويبر عن الضحاك. Imam Dhahak says ولا يؤوده حفظهما means لا يثقل عليه حفظهما. Again, the same meaning. And why does he mention same meaning with different chains? Because it has been narrated from different scholars and to support the meaning. حدثنا ابن حميد قال حدثنا يحيى بن واضح عن أبيد عن الضحاك مثله. Another chain from ضحاك. حدثنا يونس قال أخبرنا ابن وهب قال سمعته يعني خلاد يقول سمعت أبا عبد الرحمن مدينية يقول في هذه الآية ولا يؤوده حفظهما قال لا يكبر عليه. Yeah, this is another meaning. So he is adding different shades to the same meaning. لا يكبر. Now يكبر means it comes from kabura, which shows greatness, bigness of something. So nothing is big for Allah. This is the meaning. Nothing is great for Allah. Nothing is too big for Allah to achieve. لا يكبر عليه. Protecting heavens and the earth is not a big matter for Allah. For this reason, whenever you see in the Quran that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning about anything that it's easy for Allah, it does not mean there are some things which are difficult for Allah and this is easy for Allah. It does not mean that. This difficulty and ease for our understanding, in our mind. Otherwise, nothing is difficult for Allah. This is a very important masala. There are many verses where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran says, this is easy for Allah. Ahwanu alayhi. Let me give you one example, if I find it here. Let me search it. Give me a minute. Why doesn't it appear? Yes, in this ayah of Surah Ar-Rum, ayah 27. Surah Ar-Rum, ayah 27. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وهو الذي يبدأ الخلق ثم يعيده وهو أهون عليه وله المثل الأعلى في السماوات والأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم. And it is he who begins creation and then he repeats it, and that is even easier for him. Yani repeating the creation after destroying it is easier for Allah. Ahwan gives the meaning of ease. Now it does not mean creating in the first place is a bit difficult and then repeating is a bit easier, or there are things which are difficult and there are matters which are easier for Allah. Does not mean that. This ease and difficulty for our understanding. Otherwise everything is easy for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. حدثني محمد بن عمرو. Again, never read this as amru. This waw is silent. Like we have silent letters in English also. Honest, we don't say honest. H is silent. So this is not amru, this is amrin always, or amrun or amran. حدثني محمد بن عمرو قال حدثنا أبو عاصم عن عيسى بن ميمون عن ابن أبي نجيح عن مجاهد في قوله تعالى في قول الله ولا يؤوده حفظهما قال لا يكرثه. He gives another meaning. يكرثه means it does not overburden. ثقيل, we say in Arabic, this thing is ثقيل, heavy. وأثقلني, it is heavy for me. أثقلني. We use this for meanings as well as for physical things. We say this rock is heavy. هذا الحجر ثقيل. And we use it for meaning also. This matter is heavy upon me. I'm not able to take it. Or this mas'ala, I'm not able to understand it. It's very heavy for me. حدثني موسى قال حدثنا عمرو. You see again عمرو, not أمرو. واو is silent. قال حدثنا أسباط عن السدي ولا يؤوده حفظهما قال لا يثقل عليه. Same meaning. حدثت عن أمار قال حدثنا ابن أبي جعفر عن أبيه عن الربيع قوله ولا يؤوده حفظهما يقول لا يثقل عليه حفظهما. Same meaning. Protecting heavens and the earth is not heavy upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. حدثني يونس قال أخبرنا ابن وهب قال ابن زيد في قوله ولا يؤوده حفظهما قال لا يعز عليه حفظهما. He gives another word. يعز. عز means difficulty. It's not difficult. Or heavens and the earth are not so big that Allah cannot control them. This is the meaning. يعز. Azza means something which is out of control. Your control. You cannot control it. So when you cannot control it, you cannot have any tasarruf in it. You cannot change it. You cannot drag it. It's out of your control. Heavens and the earth are in the control of Allah. That's why it is not difficult for Allah to protect it, to sustain it. Okay, and the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is established in space and time, in heavens and the earth. Okay, after mentioning these narrations from Sahaba and Tabi'een, Imam Abu Ja'far al-Tabari says, Qala Abu Ja'far. We said, remember, that this is from students who were noting from their teacher. Because the Musannif, the writer, will not use his own name in the writing. He doesn't say, he will never say, Qala Abu Ja'far. If he wanted, he would say, I say, قلت. So this is from Nusakh, those who were copying the notes. قال أبو جعفر والهاء والميم والألف من قوله من ذكر السماوات والأرض. The letters ha, mim and alif, huma, is from to mention heavens and the earth. Okay, so huma is the dual pronoun. It points to heavens and the earth. فَتَعْوِيلُ الْكَلَامِ yes. فَتَعْوِيلُ الْكَلَامِ, so the interpretation of these words is وَسِعَ كُرْسِيُّهُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ, that the kursi of Allah is expanding on the heavens and the earth. The ilm knowledge of Allah, we talked about kursi. وَلَا يَثْقُلُ عَلَيْهِ حِفْظُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ, and protecting the heavens and the earth does not overburden Allah, is not difficult for Allah, is not anything big for Allah. وَأَمَّا تَعْوِيلُ قَوْلِهِ, so we have finished about يَؤُودُهُ حِفْظُهُمَا. وَأَمَّا تَعْوِيلُ قَوْلِهِ وَهُوَ الْعَلِيُّ, and Allah is Ali. At the end of Āyah al-Kursī, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned two attributes: al-ulu, highness, and al-azamah, greatness. We have talked about that. We will not repeat it. وَهُوَ الْعَلِيُّ means فَإِنَّهُ يَعْنِي وَاللَّهُ الْعَلِيُّ. Allah is Ali. Allah is the great. Allah is the most high. وَالْعَلِيُّ الْفَعِيلُ من قولك على يعلو علوا. Ali is on the pattern of fa'il. And these different patterns of nouns and verbs in Arabic, they point to different shades of meaning. It comes from ala, ya'lu. Ala is the past tense. Ya'lu is the present future. Uluwan is the masdar, jirand. So ala means to be high. When we say ala, it means he became high. Ya'lu, he is becoming high, or he will become high. Ulu is highness. إذا ارتفع, when something becomes high. فهو عال وعلي, علي, and this is the ism. So someone who is high, we call him, we use Ali for him. والعلي ذو العلو والارتفاع على خلقه بقدرته. And Ali means the most high upon his creation by his qudra, which means highness here refers to, because this is not highness of the body. Allah doesn't have a body or form, with agreement of the scholars, as we have explained. Allah is beyond space and time. Allah has that being, but what is the essence of that being? We don't know. Allah is mubayinun li khalqihi. Allah is different from his creation. Shape, size, body, all these attributes, they are the attributes of creation, not the attributes of the creator. So highness is not by body. We have a body which is above physically on this universe. No one says this. Even those who understand this as an attribute, Allah is above, sitting above the throne, they don't mean physically. They say this is an attribute, only Allah knows its essence. It is not physically, like some Christian painters have depicted God as a physical old man sitting on the throne. No, this is shirk and kufr, disbelief. God is beyond these imaginations. In fact, the scholars, they say anything, any thought which comes in your mind about God, Allah is different from it. So ulu, highness here means ulu by qudrah. Allah is above this creation. Allah is high by his qudrah, which means Allah is controlling everything. Nothing can miss Allah. Whatever is happening by the permission of Allah. From the day Allah created this universe or existence and whatever it contains, Allah is sustaining it. Allah is providing for it. Allah is the awamir, the commands of Allah are descending, and everything is happening by the permission of Allah. This is the meaning of qudrah. Everything is in control of Allah, basically. Nothing is missing Allah. ذو العلو والارتفاع, the possessor of highness, على خلقه, on his creation, بقدرته, by his potential, by his قدرة, by his capability. وكذلك العظيم, قوله العظيم, and عظيم also carries the same meaning. عظيم comes from عظمة, which means greatness. ذو العظمة, the possessor of greatness, الذي كل شيء دونه, which means everything is below Allah. Allah is so great that everything is below Allah. Nothing is great in front of Allah. Only Allah is the greatest. فَلَا شَيْءَ أَعْظَمُ مِنْهُ. Nothing is greater than Allah. Again, greatness does not mean body. Allah is big physically. It does not mean that. Allah is above all these imaginations. And then he quotes again the Sahaba and Tabi'in for his explanation. He says, كما حدثني المثنى قال حدثنا عبد الله بن صالح قال حدثني معاوية بن صالح عن علي بن أبي طلحة عن ابن عباس. Again, Abdullah ibn Abbas says, Al-Azim, Azim, great means, the great means, الذي قد كمل في عظمته, the one who has perfected in his greatness. Yani his greatness is perfect. واختلف أهل البحث في معنى قوله. أهل البحث, the people of research. Again, he refers to the scholars. They have disagreed about the meaning of وهو العلي. Allah is the most high. فقال بعضهم معنى ذلك. Some of them said it means وهو العلي على النظراء والأشباه. Allah is high and above from the likes. Nothing is like Allah. Allah doesn't have nadhir and shabih. Allah doesn't have any being which has any similarities with Allah. Allah doesn't have any likes. وأنكروا أن يكون معنى ذلك وهو العلي المكان. And these scholars, they rejected the meaning which says Allah is above in space. Al-makan, a particular makan, place. So they said ulu in meaning, highness in meaning, highness in Allah is above in his qudrah, in capability. Allah is above means Allah does not have any partners. Allah above means Allah does not have any likes. Nothing in this universe is like Allah. لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ. Okay, so it doesn't mean Allah is above physically. Makan. Makan means space. وَقَالُوا غَيْرُ جَائِزٍ أَنْ يَخْلُوَ مِنْهُ مَكَانٌ. And they also said it is not permissible that we say that there is space and Allah is not in it, which means ولا معنى لوصفه بعلو المكان لأن ذلك وصفه بأنه في مكان دون مكان. يعني if we say Allah is in a particular place, it means Allah is not in other places. Of course, they don't mean Allah is everywhere physically also. But if we specify a place for Allah, we are restricting Allah. That's why they negated it. They said, no, we will not accept it. Because Allah is above these things. This applies to physical beings. And if we place a thing in a particular place, it will be only in that place. It cannot be everywhere at a single point of time. A human being cannot be everywhere at a single point of time. A mountain cannot be everywhere at a single point of time. A particular thing will be at a particular place in a particular time. This is the attribute of created beings, but it does not apply to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But at the same time, they don't mean that everything is Allah. And this is the Aqīdah of kufr. And we say, like Hindus and other religions, that everything is Allah, there is God in everything. Every tree, every creation. No, they don't say that, of course. We're talking about Muslims and Muslim scholars. So, but they negated the meaning of restricting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to a particular space. Yani, restricting Allah to the throne only. Allah is above the throne, Allah is sitting on the throne, full stop. So if Allah is on the throne, He is not everywhere else. And this does not apply on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the first opinion. So according to them, they say, well, we should, because we don't know anything about that of Allah. We don't know anything about being of Allah. We don't know its essence. We cannot understand that. He is not a physical body. So no need to discuss about these matters. Let's take the meaning of highness as highness in qudrah, highness in capability, highness in competence, highness, or Allah is above, Allah doesn't have any partner, so on and so forth. وَقَالَ آخَرُونَ, others, they said, مَعْنَى ذَلِكَ وَهُوَ الْعَلِيُّ عَلَى خَلْقِهِ بِارْتِفَاعِ مَكَانِهِ عَنْ أَمَاكِنِ خَلْقِهِ. There are those who said Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is above His creation in makan. Yani they attributed makan to Allah. Allah is above the arsh. But at the same time, He's connected with whole universe. He knows what is happening in the universe. And they did not mean to restrict Allah. And they said this based on the Quran, because Quran has mentioned this attribute with Allah, that Allah is above the throne. But there is something interesting here. You will never see any ayah which says Allah is on the throne. There's a difference between on and above. Above gives the meaning of tanzih. We have talked about the importance of tanzih in understanding the attributes. Freeing Allah from all weaknesses, deficiencies. Allah is not a body. He needs to sit physically on the throne. Na'udhu billah. No one says that. Above means Allah is even above the throne. No one knows the essence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, this is another opinion. لأنه تعالى ذكره فوق جميع خلقه, because Allah, may His mention be exalted, is above over all creation. وخلقه دونه, and His creation is below Allah. كما وصف به نفسه, as He has attributed to Himself in the Quran, أنه على العرش, that He is on the throne. فهو عال بذلك عليه. So Allah is above the creation according to that. The second group of scholars, they say we stick to it, we stop at that, we say this is an attribute and full stop, we don't restrict. But the first group says, if we say this, basically they are saying we don't need to take these ayat in apparent meaning or literal meaning. So we don't say above means above physically. Above means we don't restrict Allah in a particular place. Let's deviate the meaning from the apparent meaning. Let's say above means above in highness. And this is a common uslub in all languages. Like we say, this student is above all students. We don't mean physically. We mean that he is better than others. He has better grades than others, and so on and so forth. But Imam al-Tabari has mentioned both opinions because they are valid opinions of the scholars. But we should not be confused about the second opinion. Those who say Allah is above the creation, and we should not deviate from the apparent meaning, they don't mean physically like the bodies. They say this is attribute of Allah, we don't need to discuss it, we attribute it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is a realm where we cannot engage our intellect. وَكَذَلِكَ اخْتَلَفُوا فِي مَعْنَى قَوْلِهِ. They also disagreed about the meaning of al-azim, the great. فَقَالَ بَعْضُهُمْ, some of them said, معنى العظيم, the meaning of great is في هذا الموضع المؤذم. The meaning of great in this place, in Āyah al-Kursī, means al-mu'azzam, the one who is glorified. The great means the one who is glorified. The greatness of the one, the greatness of whom is mentioned by the creation. صُرِفَ الْمُفَعَّلُ إِلَى فَعِيلٍ. Again, as I said, different forms of verbs and different forms of nouns which may have the same root word, which may have the same basic meaning, it shows different shades of meaning. So he says, mufa'al has been deviated from its meaning to fa'il, because mufa'al means the glorified and fa'il is something else. كما قيل للخمر المؤتقة خمر عتيق. Like the old wine, al-khamrul mu'attaqa, the wine which is very old, which is good, considered good. The older the wine is considered good. Khamrun atiqun. They use, the Arabs, they khamrun atiqun. They don't say khamrun mu'attaqa. They say khamrun atiqun. So atiq is on the pattern of fa'il, and mu'attaqa is on the pattern of mufa'al. كما قال الشاعر, like the poet says, وكأن الخمر الأتيك من الإسفنت ممزوجة بماء زلال. Praising the wine. He says, why is he mentioning wine in the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? This is perhaps from the poet before Islam. This is happening. This is making me crazy. Okay. You see, this couplet is, it belongs to the famous poet Āyah al-Kabir in his Deen. So why is he mentioning wine in understanding Āyah al-Kursī? As I said, the scholars, they use Arabic poetry, even the poetry of Jahiliyyah before Islam, to understand the usage, the meaning. Wine is haram, of course, but how does this poet use this word is what concerns us. So in understanding Azim, he is using this couplet, which mentions Atiq, old wine, Atiq. So it should be mu'attaq. So sometimes mufa'al, noun which is on the pattern of mufa'al is deviated from the pattern and taken to the pattern of fa'il. We'll not go into more details. It needs advanced understanding of the grammar. But this is how they understand. Innama hiya mu'attaqatun. In origin, it's mu'attaqa, but atiq has been used for it. قالوا فقوله العظيم. They said al-azim ma'nahu means al-mu'azzamu alladhi yu'azzimuhu khalquh. Azim is the glorified by his creation. So Azim, the great, so this greatness is attributed to him. It does not necessarily, someone is great does not necessarily mean that he is considered great by others also. He's great in himself, but maybe no one knows his greatness, right? But here he says, no, Al-Azim, this may be on the pattern of Fa'il, but its origin is on the pattern of Mufa'al, which is Al-Mu'azzam. So great here means glorified. This greatness is known by the creation. He is great because the creation, all creation, glorifies him, considers him great. And this is the meaning. وَيَهَابُونَهُ وَيَتَّقُونَهُ. They fear him and they are conscious of him. قالوا, they said, إِنَّمَا يَحْتَمِلُ قَوْلُ الْقَائِلِ هُوَ عَظِيمٌ أَحَدُ مَعْنَيَيْنِ. They said, when someone attributes azamah to Allah and says, هُوَ عَظِيمٌ, he is great, it has one of the two meanings. أَحَدُهُمَا, meaning number one is مَا وَصَفْنَا مِنْ أَنَّهُ مُعَظَّمٌ. What we have already mentioned. It means glorified. His greatness is mentioned and understood by the creation. وَالْآخَرُ, the second meaning is أَنَّهُ عَظِيمٌ فِي الْمَسَاحَةِ وَالْوَزْنِ. Someone is great in his weight and physical qualities. Of course, here it is not mentioned greatness physically, big, something which is big, great, heavy. It is not the meaning attributed to Allah here, because Allah doesn't have a body. قَالُوا وَفِي بُطُولِ الْقَوْلِ بأن يكون معنى ذلك أنه عظيم في المساحة والوزن صحة القول بما قلنا. They negated this meaning. No one says that Allah is great, means great in his body, big like a mountain, a'udhu billah. It does not mean that. So greatness here means glorified by the creation. وقال آخرون, and this is the first opinion. There are scholars who said بل تعويل قوله العظيم. العظيم, its interpretation is, or it means, هو أن له عظمة هي له صفة. That azama, being great or glorified, is one of the attributes of Allah. وقالوا لا نصف عظمته بكيفية. And they said, we will not mention its kayfiyah, its essence. We don't know its essence. Azama is an attribute of Allah. Greatness is attribute of Allah. We don't know its essence. ولكن نضيف ذلك إليه من جهة الإثبات. We will only attribute it to Allah because it has been mentioned in the Quran and in the Sunnah. We have to attribute. وننفي عنه أن يكون ذلك على معنى مشابهة العظم المعروف من العباد. We will only negate the greatness which is perceived by us between the creation. So when we say great for a creature, physically great, we mean the physical qualities. We will negate it. We will negate these physical qualities from Allah because Allah is not like the creation. But at the same time, we will attribute greatness to Allah as befits Him. We don't know its essence. And this is what we talked about, the two principles of attributes. How do we understand attributes? By ithbat and by tanzih. Attributing the quality to Allah and negating the evil qualities, or negating the likeness of Allah with the creation, or the creation with Allah. So this is ithbat and nafi. Okay, we talked about that. لأن ذلك تشبيه له بخلقه. Because if we say that Allah is great, like the creation, physically, in physical form, this would be tashbih, likening Allah with His creation. وليس كذلك. And this is not the meaning. وأنكر هؤلاء ما قاله أهل المقالة التي قدمنا ذكرها. And these scholars, they negated the opinion of the previous scholars. They said, no, we should not deviate from the apparent meaning. There are scholars in the Ummah who stick to the apparent meaning. They don't deviate. They say only Allah knows the essence. We will only attribute the meaning to Allah and full stop. No need to go into the details. وَقَالُوا لَوْ كَانَ مَعْنَى ذَلِكَ أَنَّهُ مُعَظَّمٌ. They said if the meaning of azim was mu'azzam, glorified, the greatness of whom is understood by the creation, لَوَجَبَ أَن يَكُونَ قَدْ كَانَ غَيْرَ عَظِيمٍ قَبْلَ أَن يَخْلُقَ الْخَلْقِ. This is a beautiful i'tirad, objection to the opinion. They said, well, it means that Allah was not great before creating the creation. If we say greatness is connected with the creation, greatness means acknowledged by the creation or glorified by the creation. It means Allah was not great before creating the creation. And this is rejected by everyone. Allah was great before creating the creation and after creating the creation. And this meaning will end when the creation will cease to exist. So Allah was not great before creating this universe, and Allah will not remain great after this universe will perish. This is not the meaning. If we deviate from the apparent meaning, لأنه لا معظم له في هذه الأحوال. Because before creating the creation and after this creation will end, there will not remain anyone who will glorify Allah. Okay, this is one opinion. وقال آخرون. There are scholars who said بل قوله إنه العظيم, He is great, means وصف منه نفسه بالعظم. It is an attribute which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned Himself for Himself. And Allah has attributed greatness to Himself. He does not need creation or anyone to glorify Him. He has attributed it for Himself by Himself. وقالوا, and they said كل ما دونه من خلقه بمعنى الصغر لصغرهم عن عظمه. And whatever is below Allah, they are small. Smaller than Allah in all respects, because they are smaller than His greatness. The tafsir of Āyah al-Kursī ends here. You see, in these opinions, Imam al-Tabari has not preferred any opinion, because he feels that all opinions have valid evidences, or they are all strong. And sometimes the scholar does not prefer any opinion if the ikhtilaf, if the difference of opinion is very strong. If we have 3 or 4 opinions in a particular mas'ala, and all opinions have strong evidences, it becomes difficult to prefer. In that case, the scholars, they practice tawqif, they stop. They say, we will not prefer anything. The Muslims are free to choose any opinion because all have valid evidences. Alhamdulillah, we have completed Āyah al-Kursī from tafsir of Imam al-Tabari on time. Alhamdulillah, this is the 10th session, and we have completed the understanding the principles of Aqīdah from Āyah al-Kursī. I hope that this was a beneficial journey, inshallah, and this should give us a methodology of understanding our Deen based on the Book of Allah. You see how we took whole Aqīdah, all the principles of Aqīdah, particularly connected with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His names, attributes, all the details, only from Āyah al-Kursī. Now imagine if you study the book of Allah, particularly the ayat which speak about Allah, which are about Aqīdah, how much knowledge can we gain? This is the method which we should apply. Usually students ask me about the methodology of seeking knowledge. Which book should we read? What should we do? The methodology has always remained the same. The book of Allah, the book of Allah, the book of Allah, Al-Quran. In fact, the great muhaddithun would never teach hadith to students who had not memorized the book of Allah, or who had not engaged with the book of Allah, at least at the basic level. This is how we should study the book of Allah. It is the wahi from the seven heavens. It is the khair, nur, light, the last and final revelation, the last and final engagement between heavens and the earth. It is a great gift for us, the book of Allah. Everything should revolve around the book of Allah. All ulum of Islam are extracted from the book of Allah. In fact, all ulum of Islam, all sciences of religion, religious knowledge, they serve the book of Allah. You know, it depends how much we engage with the book of Allah. Someone asked a scholar from the Salaf about happiness. He said to him, "Oh Shaykh, how can I attain great happiness? How can I attain the best forms of tranquility?" The Shaykh answered, he said, "It depends on how much you engage with the book of Allah. More you engage, more happiness. More you engage, more tranquility. More you engage, recite, read, reflect, more knowledge." So we should make this great book the foundation of our understanding and practice, understanding Aqīdah, Akhlaq, our religion, all aspects of our life. And we should also try to guide our families, our children, and connect them with this book. It can be sometimes by just taking an ayah and reciting it together, reading the translation together, reflecting on it together, connecting it with our lives, so on and so forth. Quran is a deep ocean. All scholars in history, whatever they achieved by the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As the great Umar radiyallahu anh has rightly said, this is a book by which many nations will rise and many nations will fall. Those who believe in it, respect it, accept this great gift from the greatest king, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, understand it, engage with it, apply it in their lives, they will rise. They will be glorified in this dunya and hereafter. And those who reject it, they throw it behind their backs, they will be destroyed. They will perish. So this is the book by which يَرْفَعُ بِهِ أَقْوَامًا وَيَضَعُ بِهِ آخَرِينَ. Allah will lift some people and Allah will destroy others. And this is one of the problems we're facing in the Ummah. We have thrown this book behind our backs. And this would be one of the complaints of the Prophet ﷺ on the last day about this Ummah. Usually we know the Prophet ﷺ is rahmatan lil alamin. He is the mercy for all mankind. He will be the only person to care about his Ummah on the day when everyone will be thinking about himself. Nafsi, nafsi. Myself and myself. How can I save myself today? Even the prophets. We know his concern about the Ummah in dunya and akhirah. And you will not see any hadith or ayah in which the Prophet is complaining about anything. The Prophet is the foundation of positiveness, always giving solutions, rahmah, hope for the Ummah. But there is only one thing about which the Prophet will complain on the last day. And this shows the greatness of that thing. It shows the seriousness of this matter. And this has been this has come in Surah Al-Furqan, Ayah 30. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وقال الرسول يا رب إن قوم اتخذوا هذا القرآن مهجورا. And the messenger has said, or he will say, O my Lord, indeed my people have taken this Quran as a thing abandoned. They have abandoned this Quran, they have thrown it behind their backs. And this was the crime which the children of Israel did with their books, with the revelation of Allah. Like for example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Baqarah, Ayah 101, وَلَمَّا جَاءَهُمْ رَسُولٌ مِّنْ عِنْدِ اللَّهِ مُصَدِّقٌ لِمَا مَعَهُمْ نَبَذَ فَرِيقٌ مِّنَ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ كِتَابَ اللَّهِ وَرَاءَ ظُهُورِهِمْ نبذ فريق من الذين أوتوا الكتاب كتاب الله وراء ظهورهم كأنهم لا يعلمون. And when a messenger from Allah came to them, confirming that which was with them, a party of those who had been given the scripture threw the scripture of Allah behind their backs, as if they did not know what it contained. It means they did not learn it, they did not read it, they did not follow it. This is the crime of the children of Israel. And it would be the complaint of Allah, the Prophet ﷺ, in front of Allah on the last day. So we must understand the graveness of this matter, connect with the book of Allah according to our capabilities. As common Muslims, we must try to memorize at least some ajza of the Quran, recite it in our prayers. As I said, this is not specific with, and it was never specific with, the scholars only. Memorizing Quran is basically to connect with the Quran. Memorization is not to show your skills in competitions. Memorization is basically connecting with the Quran. Because once you memorize, you have to revise it. If you don't revise it every day, you will forget it. So you will be connecting with the Quran. You have memorized, you have connected with the Quran till you leave this dunya. As I have said before also, even in Jannah, there is no amal in Jannah, right? Amal ends here, in this dunya. There is no amal in Jannah. Fate has been decided when people enter Jannah or Jahannam. But there are some amal are so great that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows to see those amal even in Jannah. We don't see any prayer in Jannah, zakah in Jannah, hajj in Jannah, right? These are great amal by which we worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But there are some amal which Allah loves to see even in Jannah. One of those amal is tilawah of the Quran. We know the hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ said that Allah will say in Jannah to the one who had memorized the Quran, Rattil wartaqi, recite and your ranks will be elevated. Your last station will be at the last ayah you recite. So keep on reciting, your ranks will be elevated. This is word of Allah, book of Allah. And one of the major signs of the last day is that Quran will be lifted from the masahif. Quran will be lifted. There will come a day when we will open the Quran and all ayat would be lifted. That means khair in dunya will remain as long as the book of Allah remains in this dunya. So don't take it as any other book. This is the divine guide. This is what makes us Muslim. This is what differentiates us from other ideologies and jahiliyyah ideologies and religions of ignorance. This is the khair we have. This is what the greatest gift we can give to humanity. And the Prophet ﷺ himself was walking Quran. When Aisha radiallahu anha was asked about the akhlaq of the Quran, the Prophet ﷺ, she said, كَانَ خُلُقُهُ الْقُرْآنِ. His akhlaq were Quran. He was walking Quran on the face of earth. So Quran, al-Qur'anu awwalan wa akhiran. Make Quran your companion. Buy a mushaf for you, which you keep with yourself till you leave this dunya. Keep this mushaf, maybe pocket side, which is easy to handle. Keep it with you wherever you go. in your car, in your workplace, even in your kitchen. Carry it with you. Whenever you find time, open it. Like we engage with our mobiles these days, and we have destroyed our mental health and peace. Carry this mushaf, read it, recite it, whenever you find time. You will see tranquility, happiness, inshallah, greatness. This is the Quran which lifted us before, and it will lift the ummah in future also. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us true and sincere love for the book of Allah. May Allah give us tawfiq of reciting it, reflecting on it, and applying it in our lives. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala change our families, our children by this book. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make our children hufaz of this book. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make memorization of the Quran easy for our children. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us tranquility by this book, to grant us iman by this book, to grant us knowledge by this book. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the best in dunya and akhirah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept these sessions in which we tried, according to our weak capabilities, to engage with His book. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept these sessions, to forgive our sins by these sessions, to elevate our ranks by these sessions, and to forgive our dead by these sessions. Whatever we studied, the ayat we recited, the ahadith we read, we make niyyah that its thawab, its reward also reaches our dead. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to fill the graves of our dead with light, with tranquility, elevate their ranks in Jannah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us best Muslims, those who are beneficial for their nufus, for their families, for the Muslim community. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us leaders in our communities. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us the source of khair and light for everyone. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala lift the calamities, difficulties, problems we're facing in our life. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us true iman and trust in Allah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala free our hearts from doubts and desires. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala elevate the ranks and send the best salutations on our beloved Prophet, the coolness of our eyes, our leader, Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala resurrect us with him on the last day, and with Siddiqun, Shuhada, and Salihin. Ameen, Ameen, Ameen. Wa sallallahu ta'ala ala nabi al-ummi. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. If you have any